Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Beitzah. We are up to Perek Aleph Mishnah Het. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana Aranbayev, and Eliyahu ben Burchai Israelov, Menuchatam beGan Eden, Amen, and Ravdi ben Chaim for the Refuah Shlema, Bachabat Esther, and Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, Betor Shah Chulei Israel. The Melachav Borer selecting is separating waste from food or any unwanted items from wanted items. Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel disagree about the laws of doing this melacha in Yom Tov. The Mishnah begins, Aborer kitnit b'Yom Tov, if one wants to select legumes such as beans or peas from their shells, husks, or other waste on Yom Tov. Bet Shammai Amrim, Bet Shammai say, Borer ochel ve'ochel, he must select the edible food from the waste with his hand and eat it right away. According to Bet Shammai, the melacha of selecting is forbidden on Yom Tov. Therefore, they permit only this method, which is not considered selecting at all. Even on Shabbat, selecting is permitted if it meets all three of the following conditions. A, the person takes the food from the waste and not the other way around. B, he uses his hands and not a utensil. And C, he intends to eat it right away. Therefore, even though Bet Shammai hold that selecting is forbidden on Yom Tov, they permit a person to remove legumes from their shells with his hand to eat right away. Bet Hillel omrim, but Bet Hillel say that selecting legumes is permitted on Yom Tov. Borer kidarko, therefore one may select them in the usual manner. Becheko, by putting the mixture in a sheet on his lap and tilting the sheet so that the round legumes roll away from the waste. Bekanon, by pouring the mixture through a funnel so that the legumes, which are smaller than the waist, fall through the narrow end of the funnel. Uftamhui, or by putting the mixture onto a plate and gently shaking it so that the round legumes roll off. Bet Hillel hold that since selecting shells from their legumes is usually done on the very day the legumes are eaten, it is permitted on Yom Tov. Therefore, when selecting them on Yom Tov, it is not necessary to meet the three conditions listed that we said in the previous note. Rather, one is allowed to take the waste from the food using a tool with intent to eat the food later in the day. Now, in the following cases, however, if even Bet Hillel forbids selecting on Yom Tov, but one may not place the mixture onto a large board and gently tilt the board so that the round legumes fall off. Strain the mixture in a fine strainer which has small holes in its netting, or in a coarse strainer whose holes are large. A large board and a strainer are used for selecting large quantities. Hence, even Bet Hillel forbid a person to use them on Yom Tov because it appears as if he's selecting food to be eaten after Yom Tov, which is prohibited. The next Tana has the most lenient opinion. Rabban Gamliel says, Af mediach v'sholeh. He may even put the mixture of legumes and waste in a bowl, pour water onto the mixture, causing the waste which is lighter to float to the top, and then skim off the waste. Although this method of selecting was used for large quantities, which is the way it is done on weekdays, Rabban Gamliel permits it for small quantities that will be eaten on Yom Tov. And the Rav does tell us, Rabban Gamliel, the Halacha does not follow the opinion of Rabban Gamliel. That is in a Mishnah Het. Mishnah Tet now deals with sending items to a friend on Yom Tov. Bet Shammai Amrim, Bet Shammai say, En mishalachin b'Yom Tov el manot. We may not send gifts to a friend on Yom Tov except for portions of food that are ready to be eaten as they are without any further preparation. Sending anything that requires preparation is forbidden because the person receiving it is likely to set it aside to be prepared and eaten after Yom Tov. The sender will therefore have expended effort on something that does not serve a Yom Tov purpose. Bet Hillel omrim, but Bet Hillel say, Mishalachin be'ema chaya ve'of ben chayin ben shechutin. We may even send domestic animals, cows or sheep, non-domestic animals, deer or birds, whether they are alive or already slaughtered, although they require preparation before they can be eaten. Slaughtered animals must be cooked and live animals must be slaughtered as well. However, these are food preparation melachot which are permitted on Yom Tov. Mishalchin yenot shmanim uslatot v'kitniot. We may also send wine, oil, flour, and legumes. Bet Hillel does not consider the problem that the recipient will set aside these items to be prepared where necessary and eaten after Yom Tov. Since it is possible to prepare and eat them on Yom Tov, one is allowed to send them. Now, wine and oil need no preparation. Flour may be eaten after it is kneaded and baked, melachot that are permitted on Yom Tov, and legumes may be eaten after they have been cooked, which is also permitted on Yom Tov, as the Rambam writes in L'chot Yom Tov, chapter 5, Halacha 7. According to Bet Hillel, it does not matter whether or not the recipient is likely to eat the gift on Yom Tov, as long as it can be eaten on Yom Tov, one may send it. Their reason is that the very act of sending a useful gift increases one's joy, enhancing the celebration of Yom Tov. Now the following item may not be sent even according to Bet Hillel. Avalot tvua. However, Bet Hillel agreed that we may not send raw grain because it must be ground into flour before it can be used. And the melacha of grinding grain is prohibited on Yom Tov. Now the next Tana is the most lenient opinion. The Rabbi Shimon matir b'tvua, but Rabbi Shimon permits sending even raw grain on Yom Tov because it can be cooked and eaten without being ground, as mentioned. Bet Hillel disagree with Rabbi Shimon because grain is usually ground into flour, an act forbidden on Yom Tov. And the Rav does tell us, Ven halacha Rabbi Shimon, the halacha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. That is in Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen v'amen.